Lufia II is the role-playing game that should most appeal to old-school gamers. Very linear, with big dungeons and nasty puzzles, it also harkens back to earlier role-playing roots with its combat system. Lufia II ranks in the top 4 role-playing games for the Super Nintendo. In Lufia II, you play the role of Maxim. Along with your fellow adventurers, you must clean the world from the vile stench of the Sinistrals. They're the big bad evil guys who are trying to take over the world. Unfortunately, if you've already played Lufia I, then you'll know a lot of the plot points. Lufia II is a prequel to Lufia I, and Lufia I spoils many aspects of Lufia II within 5 minutes of playing it. However, the story is still very good, even if you know how it's going to turn out. There's many plot twists, and one especially big one in the middle of the game. In gameplay aspects, Lufia II is more like a Dragon Warrior game than Final Fantasy II or III, but it combines elements of both. Combat is strictly turn-based. You hit once, the enemies hit once. Combat is quick-moving though, and battles are not particularly tough or long, staying with the style of Final Fantasy games. Overall, the difficulty of the fighting is not too hard. The puzzles, on the other hand, can range from the simple to the mind-bending. Unless you're in Mensa, you're going to have a problem with at least one of the puzzles. Each dungeon has about 3 to 4 of them, and most of them are mandatory. Better put on your thinking cap if you're going to play this game. Lufia II has some variations from other role-playing games that makes it different. You can see enemies on the dungeon screen before you fight them, so it's possible to dodge them completely or catch them by surprise. On the dungeon screen, you can use many different items, ranging from a hookshot to your sword to arrows. They're all necessary to complete puzzles, avoid obstacles, and most can be used to stun enemies if you don't feel like fighting. Lufia II features all the typical extras in latter-generation Super Nintendo role-playing games. There's a huge amount of spells for each spellcaster, and over 200 different pieces of equipment. There's a casino in the game, and also a neat little place called Forfeit Island where all your sold equipment winds up. But the most interesting extra in the game by far is the Old Cave. In the Old Cave, you're thrown on the first floor of a 100-floor dungeon, without any equipment or magic, and being put back at level 1. Your goal is to venture up all 100 floors, gaining levels and equipment. You're not allowed to take anything out of the Old Cave, unless it's found in a blue treasure chest. You're also not allowed to leave until about the 20th floor, where the warp feather is found to get you out. This one extra can provide for hours of entertainment. The graphics of Lufia II are another departure from typical role-playing game fare. Bright and colorful characters are the norm, each of them animated well. The battle animation of some enemies leaves something to be desired, but it's still better than that of Final Fantasy II and III. Musically, Lufia II is also excellent. There's an original score of bright and cheerful music throughout the game, excluding those cliché points when the bad guy is around, and the evil bad guy music starts up. Once the main dungeon theme gets stuck in your head, it's very hard to get out. Lufia II can be a pricey item to acquire, since it came out towards the end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan. Production of the game was limited, and as a result, some copies fetch up to $80. Lufia II is a very good game, and worth every penny of that price. It ranks as one of my favorite Super Nintendo role-playing games, right up there with Final Fantasy III, Chrono Trigger, and Final Fantasy II.